Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, Maths Made Easy with Terry in 10 minutes. Okay, so we're going to talk about coordinate system. Like I said in the previous video, I'm going to be talking about each of these topics, okay? So I will just briefly introduce the concept of coordinate system. For some of you, you know this already, but I'm just going to talk about it just to make sure that we're all on the same page. Is that okay? So what is a coordinate system? So a coordinate system is basically a method of identifying location of a point on the earth. Okay, so that means this is a method that mathematician came up with so that we can locate anything, locate any point on the earth. So I'm going to write it down for those of you that are taking notes so that it will be easy for you. So a coordinate system. So a coordinate system, okay, is a method of identifying the location, okay? So the location of any point. So let's just say of a point on the earth, okay? So it's a way of locating or identifying a point, okay, on the earth. Now, what you need to know is that most coordinate systems usually use two numbers, okay? So we're going to talk about, so usually some of them use two numbers while some use three numbers. So if it uses two numbers, if the coordinate system, all right, if it's using two numbers, all right, to identify, is what we call the two dimension. So basically, it's using the X and Y, okay? But if it's using three numbers, okay, in some cases, it's using three numbers, usually referred to as X, Y, and Z, okay? So, and one of the things you need to know is that each of these numbers indicate the distance between the point and some fixed reference point. So if, for instance, I have a particular point here, and I'm having my reference point from this place. So I'm looking at this point. So that means we should have, for each point we have, let's say this is point A and this is point B, okay? Each of these numbers basically indicate the distance from this reference point. So that means for us to have a coordinate system, we must have a what? A reference point. And now this reference point is what we call the origin, okay? So that means the coordinate system tries to identify a particular point, like point A and point B, from a reference point. And this reference point is called the what? The origin. Now, what we do is that in most coordinate system, the first number is known as the X value. Like you can see, it regardless if it's a 2D or a 3D, okay? So if it's two number, it's called two dimension. If it's three number, it's called three dimension. Is that okay? So regardless if it's a 2D or a 3D, the first number is what we know as the X value. So let me write it down here. So the first number is the X value. So the first number is the X value, all right? So now this number tells us how far from the reference point going left or right. Does that make sense? So that means it indicates how far left or right from the origin. So that means if basically we have this origin here, so it tells us how far left, so that you should go left or you should go what? Right. So that means, like in this case, it might tell you now, if this is our reference point, okay, the X value will tell you whether you should move 4 units to the left or to the right, or it can tell you you should move what? 6 units to the what? To the left. Are you seeing it? So the X value tells you how far left or right. So the X value is telling you how far left or how far right you should go. Now, the second number there, let me clean this. The second number is the second number there is the Y value, all right? So the y value. So the y value is a little bit different. So the y value, what it tells you is that it tells you how far up or down you should go. So the second number, all right, is the y value. So now the y value is different. It tells you how far above or below the point is from the origin. So that means it talks about up or down. So that means if you have a particular case here, so that means when you get 6 points to the left, what you now need to do is that he wants you then to calculate how far up or down you should go. So that means in this case now, maybe he wants you to now go 3 units up. Are you seeing it? So that means this is the y value, the second value. Now this also maybe say you should go maybe 4 units up. Are you seeing it? So you can see the second value tells you how up or down you should go. So you can see the first value is x, the second value is y. So that means for this one now, it is a 2-dimension. For the position B, what we can then say is that to get to this position, I need to go 4 units to the left. Are you seeing it? And I need to then go what? 3 units to the right. Then I'll locate this point from the what? The origin. Now, also for this point here, point A, I need to go 6 units what? To the left. Are you seeing it? 6 units to the left. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about positive left, the negative or the positive, okay? Just to make it clear, I will talk about where x can be positive, x can be negative, all right? So let's just put it negative here just to talk about the opposite direction. Is that all right? Just for clarity, but you know that distance is always positive. So that means to go to the left. So you go 6 units to the left. Then you go 4 units what? Above. So 6 units to the left. So let's just put, to make the left clear, we're going to put a negative sign there. So that means you go 6 units in the negative x direction and 4 units above. So that means if I have this point of reference, which is the origin, now for me to get to point A, what I need to do, I need to move 4 units to the left and 3 units to the right. So that means I can now say for point B, this B has a coordinate system of 4 and 3. Is that making sense? So when I want to describe point B, I just have to say 4, 3. So that means from the point of origin, you need to go 4 units to the right and 3 units what? Upwards. If I want to describe point A, I'm going to just say -6 and 4. So I'm going to go 6 units to the left and 4 units what? To the right. Okay? And that is that for that. So when we have this now, for the 2-coordinate system, we can identify. But in some cases, okay, we also have what we call the 3-dimension. I'm going to just briefly explain it in this video. I'm not going to go deep into it, but you just have that as a knowledge. But in the next videos, next video series, I'm going to talk about the 3-dimensional Cartesian plane, and we'll talk about that in depth. Sorry. So what happened here is that in this case, we have X, Y, and Z. So the last one, the 2-dimension we just talked about, we only have X and Y. So that means the first one is the X, the second one is Y. But in this case, we have 3 dimensions. So where the X, Y, and Z are all right angle to each other. So that means you have in the 3 dimensions. So you have, so the Z will be here, okay? Then it's at right angle to the Y, okay? And also, it's also at right angle to themselves. So you can see that all of them are at right angle to themselves, okay? So if you have a particular point, let's call a point A, for instance. So what do you do? So if this is the Y, this is the Z, and this is the X, all right? So it's exactly the same thing. So what do you do? Maybe you go a particular unit, 2 to the X, okay? Then you also have a particular unit here to the y, then you go a particular unit to the z, will meet the point there, okay? So it's still the same thing. So that means for this point now, let's say for the x, we went 2 units, we went 3 units, and we went 5 units. Is that okay? So it's gonna be x is 2, y is 3, and z is 5. So that is basically the same thing. All right, so I'm not gonna just go so much into that, okay, so that will not confuse you. But basically, the most common one that is being used is the 2-dimension. Is that okay? The 2-dimension is the most common one that is always being used. All right. So, in summary, what have I just said? What I've said is that for the 2-dimension, you have the x and y. Okay. The 3-dimension is written in the x and y and what? Z. And like I said, I'm not going to talk much about the 3-dimension. I'm going to just talk about more of the 2-dimension. So going back as well, so that means every point in this Earth can be found. Now, one of the things I want you to also note is that if this is the reference point, the reference point is called origin, and the coordinate for the origin is 0 and what? 0. Always, because that is your starting point. Also for the 3-dimension, the reference point that you're talking about is going to be 0, 0, and 0. So always remember the origin or the starting point or the reference point has the coordinate of 0, 0, 0. Is that okay? All right, so that means when you have any particular point, you can find any point. If it's a 2-dimension, let's say we have something like this, okay? Let's say we have A, B, C, D, okay? If, for instance, we're told that the coordinates of A is going to be 2 and 5, so that means here is going to be 2, so that means move 2 to the right. Then when you move 2 to the right, then go 5 units up, you're going to meet what? A. Are you seeing it? Now, when you're told that D is minus 5 and 7, what it means, move 5 units to the left. Are you seeing it? Then move 7 units what? Up. Then you're going to meet what? D. Okay? The same thing, when you're told B is, let's say, 3 and minus 7. So what's it saying? Move 3 units to the right, positive 3 units. Then when you get to 3 units, move 7 units downward, like the negative, and then it will give you what? B. And the rest is also you can predict for C, might be a negative 2 and negative what? 5. So that makes you go minus 2, then you move at what? Minus 5. So that means every point can be located or can be found using the Cartesian system. All right? And that will be that for that. Okay, so now we now know points. So we can identify point A based on the 2-dimension, let's say 2 and 3. And we know point B is going to be like, let's say 5 and 6. The next thing now is that we're going to talk about is how do we then find the distance between 2 of them? So we have 2 points that we know already, but we want to now know what is the distance between 2 of them. That's what we're going to talk about in the next video, all right? So I'm going to see you in the next video. And if you have any question, like I always say, make sure you put it in the comment section and let me know, and I'll get back to you, all right? So I'll see you soon. All right, see you soon.